Before August 14th, 2017, the life of Kirubo Onyeke was dotted with many hospital visits, often in and out of hospital, but never was a proper diagnosis given for her ailment. It so happened that one day, as she was playing with her then 4-year-old daughter, as she was cuddling her up close to her chest, the daughter made a very interesting comment and said, "Mommy, you have a ball in your booby." And so she decided to check it out, and true enough, there was that ball in a booby. So she did share with the husband, who in turn advised that they call their doctor. It was 9:30 in the night. And so upon calling the doctor advised that they go to the clinic the next day, which they did. So the doctor did some physical examination and decided to give her some meds for 5 days and instructed them to come back after 5 days. So on the 7th day, after the initial visit, the doctor was a bit disturbed because the lump in her breast was not going away. And so the doctor ordered that a mammogram to be done so that they can be sure of what the problem could be. So it happened that they didn't pick the results the same day, because it happened that this lady Kirubu was traveling up country to go and cast her vote, because it was just around the election period. And so she traveled home to go and exercise her civil duty. And she got a call while up country from the doctor telling her that she has to visit the clinic as soon as possible. But then she explained to the doctor that she couldn't make it immediately because of the nature of the place she was at. It was a bit far and she had to wait a bit. So upon her return to Nairobi, she went to the clinic and the doctor advised that they needed to do another test just to be clear or be sure of what the problem could be. So this time the doctor ordered for a biopsy, which the results were to be given after 7 working days. So they waited, and the lapse of the 7 days, they went back to the clinic. And it was then that they received the most dreaded 3 words in medical, practitioning. They were told, "You have cancer." And for a moment, she was there seated, numb. She couldn't say or do anything. She was almost out of her body. It was only the husband who was speaking to the doctor. And the story of Kerubo is one of many persons in Kenya and even the world over who are battling cancer, who are cancer survivors. But then I thought, let me give this video a different perspective, and it's more reason I decided to title it Caring for Caregivers, because often than not, we tend to forget the caregivers. It's a good thing that we give special emphasis and care to cancer patients, but the question is, who takes care of their loved ones, the people who actually give the real care? Who takes care of them? And I've decided to highlight some of the challenges that these caregivers go through so that we are more aware and we can equally take care of them so that they feel more encouraged, more empowered, and more at a better place to take care of the cancer patients. So physically, caregivers do suffer. You can't imagine having a cancer patient in the house or even in hospital and you have to wake up every so often in the middle of the night just to check up on the patient, if they are well, if there's anything they need, if they need to be turned to this side or the other side. You always have to be there physically. Imagine the many hospital visits and the many hospital trips that you have to make with them, either weekly, daily, monthly. It's often draining. Maybe say some document is needed, some other test is needed. You have to run up and down to make sure that that test or that document is availed. Equally, these caregivers suffer emotionally. You can imagine just the breaking of the news that your brother has cancer, your sister has cancer, your mother has cancer, your father has cancer, your wife has cancer. It's not such a pleasant news. And this makes the caregivers suffer even more because they feel a lot of shame, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. Will I equally be susceptible to cancer? What will happen tomorrow? Will my parent make it to see the next day? Will my kids survive to see the next day or the next year for that reason? So there's often a lot of emotional pressure on these caregivers. And if you don't take care of them, the question is, who will? Socially, the caregivers equally suffer because they no longer engage in activities that they once found pleasurable because they have to take care of the cancer patient. They no longer have to go to social joints where they used to have fun because they're taking care of the patient. And you see, some of them will open up and say that, guys, I can't join you because I'm taking care of mom or dad or my brother or sister who is, battling cancer. Some will not share at all because they just don't know how to share the same information. But do we reach out to them and ask, how can we be our sister? We just assume that, well, maybe they decided to go silent. So emotionally, they equally suffer. And in most cases, if not attended to, some end up into depression, and in worst cases, some even commit suicide or even end up doing drugs, because of the emotional burden that they have to shoulder. Financially, caregivers equally suffer. There is that difficulty, there is that burden that comes with cancer treatment. It's very expensive. The medication, the chemotherapy, the radiotherapy, and all these therapies that they have to go through, they're very, very expensive, to say the least. Assuming you have a loan that you're servicing, assuming you have some development projects that you are doing, that means you have to put them to a halt so that you can focus your energy, attention to this cancer patient. And it even means a change of lifestyle. Maybe you have to downgrade or cut down on some expenses so that you can fit in to better take care of your cancer patient. But do we reach out to them financially and offer that helping hand when they need to? Do we take time to ask how we can assist? Or do we just assume that, well, yeah, they could be fine, or it's just a matter of time they're going to help? Or we just go to people and say, no, that's it, I did my part and I'm out now. Spiritually, the caregivers equally suffer. They ask a lot of questions, where is God now when I need it the most? There's that detachment for most caregivers from the spiritual world, because they feel as though the God they knew is no longer the God that they're experiencing right now. And they might not voice it, but do we take time to even pray for them? Do we take time to connect them to the spiritual world that they once knew? Or we just assume that things are going to be fine? So just look at all this in its entirety, the physical drain, the emotional drain, the financial drain, the social drain, all of this, on one person, the caregiver, it's too much. And if you're not taken care of, then these caregivers are equally just about, a step away from the grave if, worst comes to worst. So I'd like to add as of this month, September is the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but I'd like us to even think of other forms of cancers with regard to the caregivers. Do we take our time and deliberate effort and action to take care of them? Do we reach out to them to offer our support? Financially, spiritually, socially, physically, emotionally? Are we there? Are we present? Let's think about it so that the caregivers that are there, who are often than not the go-to persons, are equally in a good state of mind and can better take care of the patients. I'd like to equally give a shout out to all the cancer survivors and those who still battling cancer. Viva, you guys are more than strong, regardless. And I believe that if you put resources together, then we will come out victorious. Keep safe till next time. Bye for now. Keep it locked. Keep shining.